with lifecoachingforparents.com. Hello. Thank you for joining me for the webinar. I'm just waiting another minute or two to get started, but I'm ready. I see you're ready. Thanks for coming back. I did this last night and I thought I would do a replay. Um, Sometimes you do a webinar and then afterwards you're like, oh, I could have done this better. Should have done this more, talked more about this and less about that. And so it's kind of nice to get to do a second chance and see if I can make little tweaks and improvements. It's 11:59 on a beautiful fall day here, and we got some cool sunny weather outside. Hopefully my dog will stay quiet and not bark. And we're going to get started. We're going to start talking about raising teenagers and how much fun it is. Woohoo! So living with teens is quite the experience. I did another webinar about how it's a spiritual journey, and I compared it with going to live in an ashram or walking the Camino in Spain or sitting and meditating in a monastery, and how living with teens can actually be quite the spiritual journey. There's a lot of common denominators there. So it was kind of funny to think of it that way and look at it from a different perspective instead of, oh, I just have to suck it up until they move out of the house, or, why does it have to be so hard? Instead of looking at like, hey, they're here to teach me so that I can grow and detach from my ego and learn how valuable and worthy I am even when nobody else thinks so and all this stuff. So it is 12 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up my webinar and share my screen. So let me make sure I do that properly. All right. I'm sharing my screen with you, so I'm going to pull up my webinar now. Hopefully you can see what I'm seeing. It says, how to parent your mother like a teen. No, how to parent your teen like a mother. Boy, I can't even read straight today. Like a mother. I thought that was a fun title. So, really kind of this idea of teenagers are going to do whatever they're going to do, and they're going to be as wonderful and as crazy as they're going to be. But we get to decide how we want to mother them and who do we want to be and how do we want to grow and learn while living with them and parenting them. So it's really kind of about becoming the best mother we can be while living with teens and kind of using them to help us grow ourselves. And what I created is this 8-step roadmap to living with teens without losing your mind. And so I'm going to go quickly through these 8 steps because 8 steps seems like an awful lot, but it just kind of helps give me some format and structure. So step 1 is noticing what is working and what's going well, because it's so easy to focus on what's not going well. Step 2 is finding out what's bugging you and why. Step 3 is learning where your ego is attached and separating it. Step 4 is to take responsibility for how you feel and don't let your teen's behavior dictate whether you have a good or bad day. Step 5 is love more, care less. That's my favorite. Step 6 is figuring out what your business is and trying to stay in it. Step 7 is learning to use your instinctual intelligence and feel confident in your parenting decisions. And step 8 is creating a vision for your future after parenting. What are you excited to do more of once you aren't caught up in the day-to-day of raising kids? So that's going to be our 8-step format. We'll go quickly through. We won't talk about too much about all of them, but I'll highlight a certain couple of them. My name is Tori Henderson. I am a certified teacher. I've worked as a parent educator for many years and a master certified life coach. So what happened was I used to do lots of parent education and kind of teaching parents like what to do. Like, here's how to handle a kid's temper tantrum, and here's what to do about too much screen time and discipline and all this stuff. And like most of us, parents would be like, okay, I'm going to be good. I'm going to do everything I'm supposed to do, and it would last for like a couple of days or a week, and then we'd kind of be right back to where we started. And so the life coaching is what really changed my parenting, but also the way I work with other parents, is really getting down to the underlying thoughts and beliefs that are causing us to act a certain way. When you can get to the root cause, then you can change any behavior. And so being a life coach for parents has been much more powerful than just being a teacher or parent educator. And I'm also a mother of two perfectly imperfect teenagers myself. So I am right there in the throes of things along with you. I'm owner of lifecoachingforparents.com and co-owner of timeforthetalk.com, which is a sex education class for parents to take with their 9 to 12-year-old son or daughters to help them open up communication on difficult topics. So who I work with is super moms. And someone asked if it was appropriate for her husband to join the webinar too. And of course it is. Dads are more than welcome. But really, my passion is helping moms and kids too. But I really like moms who go all in on motherhood. They are excited. They are determined to do their very best job. They get really involved with their kids and their kids' lives. Sometimes that's PTA or scouting or sports and driving all around town. They can be very involved in their kids' friendships and their schoolwork. They strive to do their best to create a happy life for their kids. But because there's so much invested in raising their kids, and so much of a mom's identity can get wrapped up around who they are as a mother, that sometimes they can lose themselves. Sometimes they can get kind of restless or lost or irritable. Like, why am I so grumpy all the time? Like, I have what I want. I've got great kids. Like, why am I not happier? Or sometimes they just get exhausted from putting everybody else before themselves and taking on so much of the kind of emotional as well as the physical burden of raising kids. Sometimes these super moms can spend too much time in worry or trying to control things they have no control over, or thinking about the future with, fear and kind of fear of the unknown and uncertainty. So these are my people. These are the moms that I love to work with, whether it's through teaching my classes or through life coaching. So much fun. You are in the right place today if you are living with a 12 to 19-year-old teenager and you don't have it all figured out. If you're here and you're like, you know what, everything's great, I got no problems, this is easy, then this might not be the right webinar for you or the right environment for you, because it doesn't really make the rest of the moms feel good if you feeling like you got it all figured out and you just want to tell us how to do it. That doesn't really help inspire us. So this may not be the right place for you. But it is the right place for you if you want to have a mutually respectful relationship with your teen based on trust. This is not a set of rules to follow that is a one size fits all. This is about you as an individual, your teenager as an individual, your family values, what's right for you, not about kind of there's one right way for everybody. So you're in the right place if sometimes you go a little crazy living with your teen and you'd like more sanity and support. I know I do, because sometimes it wears me down. And so it's hard to be told that, like, I know absolutely nothing and everything I say is wrong and I'm unwanted in many ways. It's hard, and we're changing, our identity of who we are and our role in the family. And I certainly like support. And so if you feel like that's something that you would like too, and sometimes it's just like amusing and funny and you want someone to laugh with, that's great to be here for that too. You're in the right place if you are getting resistance and distance from your teen. So those are signs that this webinar and the class I'm going to be talking about, called Leading Your Teens, is perfect for you. If your teen is starting to pull away, get annoyed by you, resist your help, your touch, your nurturing, oh girl, you're in the right place. And if you would like to worry less and enjoy more, but you aren't sure how, we're going to do that. So I will be talking at the end of the webinar about my class called Leading Your Teen. It's a 5-session teleclass, which means it's over the phone. Teleclass, we all get on the phone line together, like a big conference call, and then we kind of do like little homework assignments in between, little activities. We kind of go talk to your kids about this, or try this with your child, this little skill or tool, and then report back and let us know how it went. So this class starts November 14th. It'll be Tuesday nights. And we're going to focus on how to become the emotional lead in your home and to lead your teen by example. How to access your parenting instincts so you have confidence in your parenting decisions and they can pick up on your confident energy and they won't push you and question it. And this class is great if you have a willingness to learn and grow and not just follow a set of rules, kind of like what I talked about before. So what scares us? Oh boy, moms seem to have a very easy time thinking about what scares them. So these are some of the comments that I got. In elementary school, I knew all her friends. Now I don't know any and it makes me nervous. Seeing him hold himself back and not want to stand out, even in a positive way, scares me. He just goes into his room and closes his door. I have no idea what he does in there. How can I know if he's okay? She's so emotionally volatile. I never know who's going to walk through the door. And then some moms just wrote a list like social media, driving, sex, drugs, grades, independence, blah, blah, blah. Like just this list of things that scare us. Like there's a lot of things as moms that we can, our imagination can go to and not paint a really pretty picture. But when we ask what our teens want, it's really interesting. Teenagers say a couple different things. They say either hear me, see me, pay attention to me, like listen and notice the person I am today. I think when parents can get into worry or expectations, we're not actually seeing our kid as they are today. We're kind of picturing them. Well, what if tomorrow you start doing drugs? Or what if next year this turns into something bad? Or I keep waiting for you to mess up, or things that like I expect you to be better than you are and you're not. So kids have a real hunger to be seen for who they are today and accepted for who they are today, which is perfectly imperfect. But on the contrary, teenagers also say, ignore me, give me space to figure out who I am. And it kind of reminds me of like toddlers when they are learning to separate from mom and they will kind of at a park or a playground, they'll kind of want to go out and play on the playground with the other kids, but then they'll run back and crawl into your lap and snuggle up a little bit longer. But then eventually they want to climb down again, and push away from you and go back to the kids on the playground. You know, I think teenagers are kind of like that too. They want to kind of be tucked in at night and they want to be snuggled sometimes, depending on how old they are. And then they want to push us away and act independent and not need us, but oh, it'd be so nice if you still made my lunch, but like, don't make me dinner. You know, leave me alone, but can you drive me to the mall? There's this constant push and pull that's totally normal. But 100% across the board, one thing that teenagers all agree that they want is a happy, fulfilled, relaxed, trusting mom and dad. And that's what we're working to give them here today. Step one is focusing on what is working. Now, this I found out kind of in a funny way is I created this Leading Your Teen class, and I would, you know, every year I do it around November, and I would reinvent it and make it better. And I'd ask parents for feedback. What did you like? What didn't like? What was your biggest aha moment? And, you know, what did you feel like your teen responded to the best? And they'd fill out their feedback. And no matter how great my curriculum was or how many aha moments my parents had, their favorite thing was listening to the other parents complain about their teenagers. And I thought, why do they like that so much? And part of it, I think, is support, right? They feel like, okay, I'm not in this alone, and that always feels good. But the other thing is, it helped parents get a bigger perspective on things they hadn't noticed were working for them at home. So all they could think of was their kid who's like, you know, doesn't want to play sports, but doesn't know what he wants to do and doesn't want to like drama and doesn't like scouts and doesn't really like video games and like they what is wrong with my son? Why can't he just like find an interest? He just lays around all day and he doesn't have friends to play with. And so parents can kind of fixate on the one area that's bugging them, and they forget to think about the fact that, well, hey, their kid's not stressed out going to 10 different activities. Or the mom who says, I can't get my kid to do his homework or to even care about school. He just wants to play. And the other parent's like, oh, I wish my kid just wanted to play. I can't get her to go to bed at night. She's so stressed out and stays up so late. Or the one parent who says, my daughter never wants to be home. She always wants to be with her friends, never wants to do anything with the family. And then the other parent who's saying, my kid only wants to be home and hang out with the family. He never wants to do anything with his friends. So when you hear the contrasting, it's like, oh, I forgot to notice that there's like lots of things we've got going well. We're wired to focus on the negative, but it doesn't do great things for our kids. So we want to make sure we're not interviewing for pain. Like, how was your day? Was that teacher nice to you today? Did your friends, were they kind to you at the lunch table? And, kind of like almost encouraging a negative perspective. We want to make sure we don't do that as parents. And so we want to make sure we're focusing on like, well, hey, at least, my daughter might be stressed, but at least she cares about wanting to be a good student. Or, yeah, my kid's eager to move out of the house and can't wait. Isn't that a great thing that he wants to be so independent and doesn't want to be a mama's boy? Or whatever's going well for you, just kind of focusing on that and making sure you're appreciating the sense of humor that your child has, or the relaxed thing that you've become okay around that maybe you didn't used to be. Like maybe it used to bug you that your kid wasn't highly social and outgoing, and now you're like, yeah, it's okay. He can play video games online with his friends and he's happy, and so I'm happy too. And you've kind of come around to some things. So step 2 is finding out what's bugging you and why. So when parents talk about what bugs them, we've got lots of different answers, a wide variety. It might be something like, he doesn't have any friends, she dresses like a slut, he's lazy, she's addicted to her phone, he won't talk to me, she has a terrible diet, he doesn't care about school, she won't let me hug her anymore. It could be any number of things, right? There's lots of things that bug us, but the important question is why? Here's an example from a mom who says, I made my daughter go to Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk with our family. She refused to ride any rides or boogie board, both things she normally enjoys, and she pouted the whole day. She was determined not to enjoy herself. Now, if two moms are getting together and just venting, we could say, oh yeah, I totally see why that bothers you. That would bug any mom, right? But what's valuable is to really take a look and say, well, why is that bothering you? So what that she did that? What are you making that mean? Because that's where we get to the root cause of the problem. It's probably showing up in other areas of life. And so in this case, I'll go back to the boardwalk example of her daughter being pouting all day, was that she had a thought, it's my job to make her happy. And if I was a good mom, I would have happy kids. So that was not serving her very well, that thought. But you can see how that would show up in lots of areas of her life, including this next example, where a mom might say, my daughter has anxiety, and therefore I'm upset. Right? Like I have anxiety too because my daughter has anxiety, so now this is bad. But always there's a thought. It's like, why does it bug you that your daughter has anxiety? It might sound kind of callous to ask that question, but it's really valuable to find out, well, what is the thought that you're having about the anxiety that's making you feel, worried, yucky, whatever. And so in this example, her thought was, I don't know what to do. And so when she thought that, she felt helpless. And so her action, because helplessness, nobody likes feeling helpless. Like that's a terrible feeling. And so her attempt to fix that was she would worry, because then at least she felt like she was doing something. Worry kind of gives us this illusion of productivity, which is not helpful, but it's weird. It feels like, okay, well, at least I'm doing something. I'm worrying about it. right? So she would try to fix things she had no control over. And so she might say, should be a mom who might interview for pain and be like, were the girls nice to you at school today? Or, I know like maybe whatever the trigger is for the anxiety, but try to fix the triggers or kind of control things she has no control over. Maybe she would try to get her daughter to change and say like, can't you just, think nicer thoughts, or like not worry so much, or take deep breaths, or go to yoga, or maybe you need exercise. Or she would try to kind of like get her daughter to change, but all because she's having the thought, I don't know what to do, and it's making her feel helpless. So the result would be, of course, both mom and daughter has anxiety. So you want to find out what is the root cause of why this is bugging you. Because then you get to sit in the driver's seat and you can say, okay, my daughter has anxiety. How do I want to feel about that? Of course, you don't want to feel happy that your daughter has anxiety. Anxiety sucks. By the way, if you have not had anxiety, it is awful. And it's easily treatable. So please do not let your child just suffer with this, because it's so easily just treatable. But anyway, not quickly, but easily. Okay. Side note. So, how do you want to feel about the fact that your daughter has anxiety? Maybe you want to feel empowered. Maybe you want to feel, um, I don't know, like in charge, like in control of, like, I know how to help her, might be a good thought. I know what to do. There are lots of things I can do to help. But you want to make sure you're staying in your own lane and not trying to control things you have no control over, because that will not be a good feeling. One of the reasons things bug us a lot of the time is you're going to notice some futurizing and catastrophizing. So as soon as you get down to that root cause, that thought that says like, I don't know what to do, or bad things are going to happen, she's never going to have any friends, he's never going to be self-sufficient and confident. So you might take a parent who says like, oh, I'm just so sad, like my son is not, he won't go out for the school play anymore because his friends are making fun of him. And I know how much he loved it. And he really enjoyed being up there on stage, enjoyed being a part of the theater group. But his friends are teasing him. And so he won't do it now. And that makes me sad. Or so we think. We might be sad when we watch him holding himself back. But really, the reason we're sad is because we have a thought about that. And a lot of times that thought is a futurizing, catastrophizing thought. Like instead of thinking it's going to be, that 15 is a rough year, but he'll grow out of it next year. Or by not doing theater this year, he's going to find out how much he misses it and he'll be feeling confident next year. Or he's learning things I could never teach him. Those might be some more helpful thoughts, but chances are mom is futurizing and or catastrophizing this little 15-year-old's behavior. So this is something we all have to watch out for, because it's just so easy to do. Our brains love to go there. Instead of think my daughter has an unhealthy diet, you might go to, she's going to starve herself to death. He might get a bad grade. You might go to, he'll never go to college, he'll have a dismal future, he'll drop out of school, lay on my couch and get his girlfriend pregnant at 18 or whatever. We can kind of create these pictures of a future we don't want. So here's an example of when mom says, my daughter won't hug me. Okay, so that's kind of a judgment. That's not exactly a circumstance, because there's some opinion in there, right? There's some emotional weight. So we want to make it a little bit more neutral. And we take the circumstance. My daughter moves away when I try to hug her. She chooses to spend time with friends instead of family. So maybe these are the circumstances. But the thought the reason this bothers the mom is because she has the thought, I'm losing her. And when she has the thought, I'm losing her, she feels sad, scared, lonely, desperate to cling. I mean, I'm losing my daughter. Like, think about how the brain would react to that. That is a fight or flight response trigger. I'm losing her. Oh my God, she's going away from me. No, I must go after her and grab her and hold her tight. That's how the brain reacts to the thought I'm losing her. Or I'll just crawl up in a ball and cry and be sad. Like it's one or both, right? So how this mom acted when she felt scared, lonely, and desperate was she acted needy. She'd be like, "Oh, please, can I have a hug, sweetie? I miss you. I love you. Oh, look, she touched me. Isn't this great?" She would kind of get a little creepy in a loving way. I've been there too. I'm sure I've stalked my teenage son, so I'm not judging. I'm in there, but it gets a little stalkerish. So even if she had a moment where she wanted a hug from her mom, she couldn't really get one without the kind of yucky, needy energy, and so she would have to look elsewhere for comfort because suddenly the hugs she got for comfort no longer felt comfortable, right? Because this mom had the thought, I'm losing her. So you really just want to take a look at it. Doesn't matter how big or how minor it is, you want to find out why it's bugging you. Step three is to separate out your ego. So, what am I making it mean about me that my child won't hug me? Or that my child won't eat the food I serve her. This is something that I go through in my house. Like, I'm making it mean I'm a bad mom. If my child has this horrible diet, which is a judgment, not a circumstance, then I feel like I'm a bad mom. I'm not doing my job as a mom, and it triggers me. I act a little crazier than if I'm thinking the thought, this is a phase. She's asserting her independence through food. Oh, and someone else gave me the thought of she's into name brands, but not on clothes. She likes name brand foods. She only wants like Eggo waffles and Starbucks food and Panera and Chipotle and Subway. And I thought that's so funny. She's into name brands. But it made me appreciate that she's not really that picky about clothing, just about food. So you get to just figure out where your ego is getting involved in this. Because always whenever our ego's involved, we're in a fight to the death for what we think is right. So if a good mom, in your opinion, would have a child with good grades, then you are going to fight and claw tooth and nail to make sure your child gets good grades. And that energy can repel and actually create the opposite result that you're looking for. So we think we're upset because of how they're behaving, but really it's our thoughts about their behavior that drive us crazy every single time. So my kid won't study for the SAT. Why is that a problem? Why does it bug you? Because a good mom would have a child who studies for the SAT. So check in with the ego. Oh, here's the next example. Perfect. My son won't study. Now, if you we first we have to put that to a neutral circumstance because my son won't study is pretty loaded down, right? There's some emotional weight to that. So we're going to make it neutral. My son is 15. He's in high school. He has a 2.6 GPA and 6 classes. So the thought is he's not living up to his potential. Oh no. But let me tell you a secret. None of us will ever live up to our potential. We always have more inside of us, and isn't that great? But why this thought bugs the mama is because she says, if I was a good mom, he'd have better grades. He would be a shining star. He would be living up to his potential. So this is what's causing her to create this kind of like yucky energy around his schoolwork. She feels embarrassed because she feels like I'm not being a good enough mom because my kid has bad grades. But she feels very motivated to take action. Unfortunately, there's not a lot she can do that's her business, like that's hers to control. But she tries. She encourages him, she reminds him, she might hire tutors, she might email teachers, she might yell, plead, nag, bribe, you name it. She's doing it, trying to get him to study. But here's the thing. If he was to study and get his GPA up, he'd be doing it for her. Because mom has so much energy around this subject and she's so like cares so deeply that he wouldn't really get the benefit of feeling like it's his own victory. And might feel like he's doing it for his mom, which is not usually what teenagers want to do. It's not usually a motivator for them. They want to feel like they're in charge of their own lives and a little more empowered. So mom might be living up to her potential as a involved nagging mother, but he can't find his own motivation. He's not doing it for him and doesn't have a reason kind of to motivate. So this is just one of those things that we have to watch out for. I had one mom who had a lot of frustrations around her son's school grades in school and work habits. But when we put it into the neutral circumstance, it turned out he had a 3.8 GPA and 2 AP classes. And she was still equally as frustrated, upset. So the circumstance has nothing to do with how we feel. It's our thoughts about it. That for her, that wasn't good enough. She had higher expectations for him. So we've really got to take a look at what our thought is. And then you want to ask yourself, how can I be a good mom even while having a teenager who's not motivated in school? So we just accept this reality as it is right now. Who knows? It could change a day from now, a month from now, a year from now. We're not going to worry about that. Right now, let's say that your son is not interested in studying for school. He's not really motivated, doesn't really care too much about homework. Okay, fine. How can I be a good mom to that kid? This is where you get your power back. You separate out your belief that you're a good parent from your teen's actions. Because what we do so often is we put our ego and our ability to feel like a good parent into the hands of our crazy hormonal teenagers. And they do not do a good job of taking care of this. So you get to decide how you want to feel about the fact that your child isn't motivated by school. And maybe you want to feel like a good mom to this kid. And so think about other moms out there in the world who have a kid with a 2.6 GPA and they're an excellent mother. What would that look like? And how can you be more like that mom? Step 4 is to take back responsibility for how you feel. So this is what we're just talking about. Don't put your ego or your emotional well-being into the hands of your hormonal teenager, okay? They can do whatever they want to do. Your teenager can be as grumpy, as cranky, as crazy as they want to be, but you don't have to ride that roller coaster with them. You can decide how you want to feel and start that process of separating because, teenagers like power. They like to feel powerful. And if they notice that they can affect their mom's emotional state, they might do it just for fun and entertainment. They might make you feel crazy just because they like to exert their power. So giving them permission to feel however they want to feel, act however they want to act, but you get to feel like a good mom. You get to still be calm, confident, and assertive. You will make much better parenting choices from that energy than if you're acting like a hormonal teenager, right? You get to be the parent. But this is where it starts, is because when kids are little, they're so cute and so happy all the time that we don't have to be the emotional lead. We can just walk in the door and get smothered with love and kisses and joys. And I'm like, oh my God, you're the best mom ever. I love you. Where have you been all my life? And all this like joy and love. And we can be in a totally grumpy mood, walk in the door and feel uplifted and energized and important and valuable and appreciated and all this great stuff. And so we kind of get used to this, and it's a very lovely thing. And when our babies are little, I mean, we could just be rolled out of the bed, like our hair is all messed up, we have no makeup, we just look awful, but they just are smiling and looking at us like we are the greatest things in sliced bread. And we soak it up. And if they're crying and in a bad mood, then we're crying in a bad mood, but that's okay because it's a little more appropriate when they're a baby. But as they approach adolescence, we do not want to let them lead our emotional life because they're hormonal and I mean, just think about spending all day at school with other like hormonal, crazy, judgy people. Like that's not a great environment. You're going to be kind of cranky and exhausted just from the company you keep. Plus having to sit at a desk and learn about, history and things, math, things you don't really want to learn about. Ew, that would make me grumpy. So you get to start switching it so that instead of letting your kids lead your emotions, you're going to lead theirs. You're going to decide how you want to feel and let them follow in line behind you. This is so powerful, and this is one of the greatest things that we do in the Leading Your Teen class is spending time on this because it's worth its weight in gold. As is the next step, my favorite, step 5, love more, care less. So when this was really hard for me to get to because caring for my teenager felt like love. Like I would make him his meals and I would, like ask him, how was your day and how'd this go? And did you have fun at this? And how's your sport game? And would you have homework tonight? And how can I help support you? And what we have to leave in 15 minutes. Let's make sure you get your shoes on and here's your laundry and like all that care. It to a teenager can feel like you're treating him like a little kid. So because that's how we take care of little kids. How we love little kids is we make sure they're fed and bathed and we put them in cute clothes, and care and love are kind of blurred together. Teenagers, we want to love more but care less. Care less about how they comb their hair and what clothes they're wearing and what grades they get in their tests and which friends they're eating lunch with, but love the person they are today. So love them, even though they're imperfect, even though they haven't brushed their teeth for 3 days, or love them despite the fact that they are making unhealthy choices or slacking off in school or whatever, right? Love the imperfect teen that they are today and care less about the details. So this was a really hard shift for me. And one of the things that helped me was thinking of like, the thing I'm about to ask my teenager, would I say it to a roommate or to a boss? And so asking, like, I might ask my roommate, hey, how was your day? How'd you do on your test? But I wouldn't probably ask my roommate, like, don't forget to clean your room. Or did you study for your test? Do you see the difference? And sometimes with some clients, if it's really tough, if the teenagers going through a hard time, sometimes I'll say, let's even elevate it to like your boss. Like, would you ask your boss, how was your day? Yeah, sure. But let's say your boss is like stressed out, overwhelmed. Would you ask them, like, did you remember to, they say thank you to the teacher? Like, you're not going to ask your boss that. You're not going to ask your roommate, or say to your roommate, like, don't forget to be nice to Mrs. Hoffman. Like, let's be, we got to make sure we're treating our teenager like the adult we want them to become. So Smother Nature and the Art of Letting Go is something we'll spend time on in my Leading Your Teen class, but is really something valuable especially if you notice your teen resisting and distancing, that's the sign that it's time to do a little bit more of the letting go and less of this Mother Nature. Because this is why, because care unchecked becomes need, dependency, and control. I need you to eat the food I've prepared so that I feel like a good mom. I need you to be happy so that I feel like a good mom. I need you to, I need you to have friends that are nice to you so that I can feel relaxed. Like it gets icky. And so we have to watch out. Care unchecked becomes need, dependency, and control. And your teenager will often show signs if they'll be the ones to tell us and show us through their behavior if we're getting a little too icky involved. Here's an example from a mom says, I come home to find my daughter all dressed to go to the homecoming dance, but she looks like a slut. I agreed to the dress, but with the shoes, the makeup, I had no idea what it would look like. So if we were to ask her, okay, why does this bother you? Okay, clearly she has a very strong judgment about it. So we need to make it into a circumstance. So we change it to something neutral, like my daughter is wearing clothes that don't cover all her skin when she leaves the house. Why this bugs her is because she has the thought no self-respecting parent would ever let her daughter walk out of the house like that. So she has just told herself that she is not a self-respecting parent. And so when we kind of diss ourselves like that, like, I'm not a good parent. That's kind of what she's talking about here. Her ego's getting in the picture, right? I'm not a good mom. So she feels embarrassed. Nobody likes feeling embarrassed. So when that feeling comes up, it's kind of like helpless. We avoid it. We run away from it. So instead of just allowing ourselves to feel embarrassed, notice our cheeks flush, allow ourselves to like kind of feel that I want to curl up into a ball feeling. Instead of allowing that, we avoid it. We run away from embarrassment. So instead, we might freak out. We demand that she wear something else. Oh my God, you have to change. You look terrible. You look like a slut. Tell her she looks slutty. We might try and get her to see herself through your eyes. Like, don't you see what people are going to think about you? And oh my gosh, like we kind of maybe overreact. At least this mom did. And so the result of that is one, the daughter wears the outfit and feels slutty, or two, she changes but feels resentful that her mom made her feel so bad. But either way, she probably will avoid mom in the future because mom kind of made her feel bad. So maybe she'll just wait till she's out of the house and then you take off and wear what she wants to wear. Because of course, teenagers do that a lot, right? They'll like wear one thing inside the house to get parental approval and then change once they're out the door. But the result is that mom feels bad for not being mom's best self. Like she didn't parent in the way she was proud of. She didn't say what she really wanted to say, all because of the thought of like, I'm not a good parent if I let her wear that. And then this trying not to feel embarrassed. So if we can allow ourselves to feel our feelings, it calms us down and we can be more deliberate about our choices. Like, well, what do I want to say? Do I want to set a boundary around this? How do I want to approach this? But when we're trying not to feel a feeling, then is when we kind of act in a way we're not super proud of. So one thing about embarrassment I find so fascinating is it's a sign of enmeshment or like over identification. So I remember watching my son serve in volleyball. And, he'd throw the ball up, hit it, and it hit the net, hit it again into the net. And I'm sitting there on the sidelines feeling embarrassed. And I thought, why am I embarrassed that he's not hitting the ball over the net? Like, oh, I feel bad for his team and oh, everybody's watching him and oh, I don't know what. But like, that has nothing to do with me. I am not putting myself out there. I'm not the one trying it. I'm the one feeling embarrassed. So isn't that so interesting that we can over identify? So like my daughters might wearing an outfit that's inappropriate, but I feel embarrassed. So that's just a sign to kind of take a look and think maybe I'm over identifying here too much. And as my daughter's a teenager, it's time to let go of that and to say, I get to choose how I feel. If she wants to feel embarrassed, let's let that be her emotion, not mine. But also, you might notice your teenager can be embarrassed by you. Don't sing, don't dance. Why are you wearing that? Oh my gosh. So that's a sign that your teenager is over identifying with you too. So if you think about your parents, like I'm sure your mom or dad wears things that are embarrassing sometimes, right? But you don't feel embarrassed by their choice of outfits. You're just like, oh, that's my kooky dad, or yeah, that's my mom. That's what she wears. Dorky, right? Because you don't have that same identification, like she and I are the same person, that enmeshment. But I'll bet you did when you were a teenager. So that's kind of our goal, is to where your daughter can wear whatever she wants to wear, or your son can, act the way he wants to act. And it's not a reflection on you that you've got separated out your identity that way. So this question helps with that. Like, would I say that to a roommate? Like, if your roommate came out dressed like your son in the way your manners your son's wearing, would you say what you're about to say to him? Like, oh my God, you look like a dork, go change. Or, can you please change your outfit? It's not very flattering or whatever. Like, would you say that to your roommate? Would you say that to a boss? And really trying to use that to kind of separate out your ego, your personality, your identity from your child's, and so that you can take responsibility for how you want to feel, no matter what your kid wears. You can wear whatever they want, and you get to choose how you feel. So the thing with love more, care less is that love is like the only thing more powerful than fear. Because parents have a lot of worries. We have a lot of fear of the future, a lot of fear of the unknown, all fear of bad things that could happen. Love is the only thing I found that's more powerful than that. And so when you think about what would love do? What would love say? It just kind of makes all the little worries and the details fade away. So it helps us kind of go there first, that we can kind of reflect back to our teenage years. When I wore things that were inappropriate, what was my reason? Why would I do that? It was because that was in and I wanted to be accepted by my girlfriends. It wasn't even for attention from guys. It was because that was cute, and that I thought if I dressed in a way that was popular, maybe I would be more popular. Um, so really taking time to like reflect back to when you were a teenager, allow yourself to feel your feelings, offer compassion to yourself as well as your daughter or your son. Like if he's, struggling with school, or your daughter doesn't want to study, like, oh yeah, I totally remember being that same way when I was in school. And all hell did not break loose. Or if it did, then we'll have to look at that. That might be triggering you. So discuss any issue with calm, compassionate energy. If you want to set a boundary and you want your kid to obey it, whether it's around clothes or schoolwork or social media or whatever, if you want your kid to be on board, you've got to discuss it with calm, compassionate energy. It's the energy of leadership. So accessing that is what we work on in the Leading Your Teen class, and getting to the point where you can get to that. Then you can choose whatever you want to do. All your parenting can be better. So step 6 is, what is my business? You want to take your business is your past experiences and how they're affecting you, how your view of your child. So usually it's one of two. It's usually either, oh my God, don't be like me. I hated that about me, and now I figured it out. And so I want you just to like learn through osmosis. And we don't want to watch them struggle the way we struggled. Or it's the opposite. That was so easy for me. That was socially, I had a great time in high school. What's wrong with you that you can't have a great time in high school socially too? Why is it so hard for you? It should be easier. So it's usually either one of those two things. When we bring our past into it, or if we did something we regretted, that's going to color and cloud the way we parent our child and love them as the person they are today without our baggage. So really checking in, what is the feelings I'm trying not to feel, allowing yourself to have them. What are my expectations, and where might they be a little bit perfectionistic? Because if you ask parents like, well, if you're a good mom, what would you see in your teenager? What kind of behavior? Well, a lot of times it's very perfectionistic. Like they would have great grades and they'd be motivated and they would be feel comfortable and confident in who they are, and they would find their passions, and they all these things that most 16-year-olds do not have mastered. Most of us do not top out at 16 and like self-actualize. So the fact that we often expect them to do that at 16, we need to take a look at it. It kind of makes it easier to see, like, okay, I'm being pretty, setting the bar pretty high there, pretty unrealistic. So I had one client who had the thought, there is one path to success and it's my job to get you there. So if we ask the question, whose business is she in? We can see there that it's pretty obvious, like she is getting involved into her teenager's business and then going crazy because it's not her business. There's not one path, but it's also not her job to get them there. It's the teenager's job to be successful in his life. And so when we think that's our job, we will always feel frustrated because we don't have control over that. So you want to make sure you're staying in your own business. Learning to stay in your own business will set you free. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how much lighter and easier your life becomes when you ask that question of whose business am I in and what here is mine? And then just staying in that. So, like, I can get really, when I'm frustrated, I know I'm in someone else's business. Like, I want my daughter to eat the certain foods that I serve. It drives me crazy that she won't, but that's not my business. She gets to choose what she eats. My business is what I buy, what I prepare, what I keep in my house. That's totally my business. So if I stay in my business, I'm golden. Soon as I get up into her business, I start to get a little cray cray. So, I can decide I can create a positive environment for studying. I can maybe like invite friends over or help facilitate social uh, outings and activities. I can offer to drive places, but it's not my business how my children interact with their friends or what they do on their own time. I have to let that go and let them figure it out their way in their own time and let that be their own success and their own journey. And it's hard because what is our business changes like every single year our kids get older because when they're little, their happiness is our business. What they eat is totally our business. What they wear is our business. Like everything is our business, 100%. And then every year they get older, it becomes less and less our business. So that by the time they get to high school, like their social life is like not our business. Their grades are maybe like 10, 15% our business. It just really changes. What they eat is, of course, not our business. And so it's a tricky thing, but it's so valuable to practice focusing on and learning to stay in your own lane. Step 7 is instinctual intelligence. So learning the difference between worry and instincts. A lot of times parents are like so worried. They're like, oh my gosh, is this like my instincts telling me that something bad's going to happen? No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. Because instincts are very hard to, excuse me, instincts are very easy to ignore. Fear is very hard to ignore. So when your brain is in fight or flight, it's like, oh my God, something bad could happen. And well, what if this, what if that? And it's like loud and repetitive. If something's coming from your instincts, it's very quiet. You can only usually hear it when you're in a quiet environment and your brain is not in this fight or flight state. And it's usually very soft and subtle and easy to ignore. And it might speak once and then go away. So worry and instincts sound very different in the head. But a lot of parents, it's like one of the things we worry about is instincts are only available in the present moment. So if you're futurizing or catastrophizing, you have no access to your parenting instincts. But if you want to figure out like, is my child on drugs or is there a problem here I need to address? Is he having neurological differences and this is affecting his school? And should we seek out, some medical help or some counseling? Those are some really important questions, and it'd be so great to access your instincts. So one of the things we have to do first is to let go of the fear and the worry. Step 8 is to create a vision of your future that you're excited about. One of the reasons we can cling to our teenagers and not embrace change is because we don't have a picture of the future that we're looking forward to. We super moms have enjoyed parenting so much and become so involved in it. It became part of our community, our social life, our sense of purpose in the world. When you're contributing towards something that's bigger than you, that feels so good and there's so much love and involvement, and it's a huge part of our lives. So when we think about letting go and parenting our kids and letting them be the adults that we want them to be, sometimes there's mixed feelings. Like, I don't want them to grow up. I don't want them to, be able to just cook for themselves and do their own laundry and clean their own room, even though we might think we do. Sometimes we don't let them. We don't want them to manage their own social lives or their own social media accounts, or whatever, because we want to stay so involved because it's really this fear of loss. When we think about our kids growing up, all sometimes we can picture is our life exactly the same, but without them and without us as their mom. And it just feels like all this loss. And so subconsciously, we can kind of resist that. So, one of the things that's so important to do is step 8 is create a vision of our future we're excited about. So kids learn by example. The number one way your children learn anything is through imitation. It's how they learn to walk and talk and everything. So thinking that we can teach them something through our words is not nearly as powerful as how we live. They are watching every move we make. So when we model by our example how we want our kids to behave, and we show them how we can sit in the driver's seat of our mind. Like, I decide where I want my brain to go. I decide what I want to think about, how I want to feel. I decide what I want to create in my life right now and in my future. Like, when we really sit in the driver's seat in our life, which is really what pretty much what life coaching is, it is so powerful because your teens learn by our example and they see us happy. Where I'll tell you one of the problems that parents run into with their teenagers is when a parent is very stressed out at their job and doesn't like their work. And then they're telling their teenager, like, you have to get good grades, you have to get into a good college. And the kid's like, well, why? Why bother? What's the point? Well, because then you can get a good job and make a lot of money. They're like, yeah, so I can be as miserable as you. No, thank you. It's we really got to make sure we know what we're promoting, and what we're promoting and selling our teenagers on is our own lives. Do you want your daughter to sacrifice as much as you have sacrificed for your children? Do you want her to put her own kind of interests on the back burner, as a lot of my clients do, in order to take care of her family, and just kind of using that as a checkpoint to see, am I proud of the choices I'm making and being the person that I want to be? Am I balanced? And I'm making sure I'm honoring myself and taking care of myself as well as my family in a way that I want my children to emulate. So that's the last and final step, and the 8-step roadmap to living with teens without losing your mind. Is really making sure that we are creating a future that we are excited about. And I think of it as like giving your teen the gift of a mom who's excited about her life and her future. It is a huge burden off a kid's shoulders when they see their mom is happy and excited and can create whatever she wants. Oh, best gift in the world. So in my Leading Your Teen teleclass, we'll go over all these things. We'll have little homework assignments in between calls that are fun, not, burdensome. But we're going to take charge of the things that are within our control. We're going to learn to have confidence in our parenting decisions. Create a positive relationship with your teen based on mutual trust. That's what the kids want, to be trusted. And trust is scary for mommies. It's all about this letting go and trusting things are going to be okay and not trying to micromanage and control. So it's scary, but it's kind of what we want too. So we'll work on that. Understanding normal adolescent development so we can access our compassion, feel like our kids are normal, take the focus off of what's going wrong and put it on what's going right. Learn to release worry and ego so we can access our instinctual intelligence. Then we'll know, do we need to lean in? Do we need to let go? That's how we know, is we have to get rid of the stuff that blocks us. And worry is one of the biggest ones, and attachment to ego. Or making sure we can be a good mom, without putting it in the hands of our teenager. How can I be a good mom and believe that about myself no matter how my teen behaves? When we can figure that out, then we'll have more instinctual parenting. And then become the emotional leader in your home. That you get to kind of set the tone for how you want to feel in the house, and let your teenager watch and emulate you instead of you kind of riding the emotional roller coaster with them. Here's some feedback from one of the parents who took my class. Leading your teen class not only helped me feel more empowered, but allowed my teen to take more responsibility for herself. As I backed off, she found her own motivation as creating a life she is proud of. I like to think I'm leading by example. Sure, why not think that? Leading your teen teleclass is a five sessions, hour-long sessions, over the phone classes. They're going to be Tuesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m., starting November 14th, going through December 12th. We'll kind of report back over email, over homework. So the reason I'm doing it this way with the phone and the email is because I want parents to feel like they can maintain anonymity if they want to. Sometimes our teenagers are going through hard times, and we as parents need help in supporting them. And maybe we want to protect their privacy, or we don't want to make them feel comfortable. So making sure that parents can be anonymous if they want to is something that I try to do. The cost of the class is only $249. So, one-on-one, if someone wants just a one-on-one life coaching session with me, it's $150 an hour for an hour phone call. This is 5 classes for $249, and it includes a one-on-one individual coaching session with me. So everybody who signs up. So that way we can have time, just the two of us, if there's something specific that's unique to your child, because so much of this is common, as you could probably tell by the webinar. Like a lot of the issues are very similar for a lot of parents, but sometimes we might have something that's unique that we want special help with, or some of like our own past kind of coming up and blocking us. So I make sure we have at least one session where we can do that. And so if you're interested in this Leading Your Teen teleclass, go right now to lifecoachingforparents.com/classes/leading your teen. Or if you go to the top of my website, Life Coaching for Parents, you'll see classes and then a drop-down menu there. And that'll take you to the sign up page. Because the way I see it, it's kind of like leading your teens is this energy of leadership. If you look at this picture with the mama duck and all of her ducklings, she is very calm, very relaxed. She knows exactly what she's doing. She knows her little baby ducks are behind her. So we have had ducks give birth in our pool. And so I've spent a lot of time watching mama ducks and their ducklings. And what I know is that when one strays off, she will quack and squawk and go and nudge that baby back. Or if one gets into trouble and gets lost, like, she is a really good mom. But she doesn't have to watch them like a hawk. She's not following from behind. She's not helicoptering over them, right? She's just trusting that they're all doing what they're supposed to be doing until the time when one of them isn't. And then she goes and she gets them back in line. And if that doesn't work, she quacks and quacks and quacks until somebody else comes along and helps her, which we've had to do here is when the baby ducks jumped down the storm drain in our street. So we had to help rescue them. And she stood out there and she did not let them go. So I think this energy of leading your teens is a lot like this picture. And that's what I'm trying to kind of help parents learn how to feel that sense of trust and love and joy, but not so much with the worry and the fear. So what other moms had to say about my Leading Your Teen classes? I didn't realize how much unnecessary drama I was creating in my home. Learning to accept my son for who he is makes life much more peaceful, and I feel like such a better mom. Another mom says, now that I've learned to stay in my own business, she has totally calmed down, meaning her daughter. She's more positive and cooperative, and I notice she's wanting to spend more time with me. I even got a hug yesterday. So if you have questions, you can email me at any time. It's Tori@lifecoachingforparents.com. Or you can go on to my Leading Your Teen class. There's a registration page, some questions and more details about what we're going to go over in each class and the kind of the results that you're going to get from taking the class, and maybe some question about the details. Like there's a Tuesday over Thanksgiving, and if enough people in the group say, oh, I'm out of town, then we can reschedule that for another day. I know I'm going to be in town, and so we'll just kind of play that by ear. But if you have questions like that, just let me know, logistical questions. So the Leading Your Teen teleclass, over the phone class, is the first goal of this is to help parents release worry so they can access parenting instincts and enjoy the teen years with confidence and ease. But the second goal is to help teens feel appreciated for who they are, feel understood by their parents, and allow them to be their best and highest self. So that's kind of working on both ends. It's helping parents, but it's also helping teenagers. But there's also this side bonus, this side effect that comes from taking the class is that parents learn, what I'm reading wrong, that comes to parents taking this class is understanding how much power they really have. Parents learn how much power they have. They power to decide how they want to think, how they want to feel, what they want to create. As parents learn to understand what mental resiliency is and take charge of their own happiness, their teens learn by example. This is just so powerful and it's so much fun. It just creates a really exciting life because you, instead of feeling like I am dependent on everything around me to go well in order for me to be happy, you suddenly have all this power. Like, I can feel however I want to feel. I don't have to wait for anyone or anything to act a certain way. I am in charge of my own feelings. So it's just so worthwhile to take the time to really do this. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. And I'm so glad you joined me today. I wish my chat box was working. I apologize for that. But feel free to email me or go onto my Facebook page, lifecoachingforparents.com. And I hope to see you in the teleclass starting next Tuesday night, 2:49. And it's going to be so much fun. So thanks so much for listening and watching. Take care.